I want to bring in Democratic Congressman from Connecticut and ranking member of the Intelligence Committee, Jim Himes, to talk more about this. So I'm going to pose the question to you, Jim, that Ryan just finished on, which is ultimately, right, this is going to take bipartisan support across the aisle to actually get this thing done and fund the government. The question is, when is Speaker McCarthy actually going to reach across the aisle to get that done? And is it going to take a government shutdown?
Yeah, that is the question of the day. You know, we watched yet another rule go down about 2 hours ago. You know, McCarthy couldn't get a majority to pass a rule so that we could consider the defense appropriations bill, something that's never been controversial. So it's really hard to answer that question, but I can give you a couple of facts. Because we don't have a defense appropriations bill, young Marines, young soldiers, airmen, they don't get paid if we're shut down. And I think the first camera image of a 22-year-old Marine, you know, needing to go to a food bank to get fed is going to sober up some of my colleagues around here. And so, you know, is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Maybe, because McCarthy at the end of the day needs to show his new inflammable members and some of the other not so new inflammable members that there is real cost to be paid by the American public for refusing to compromise. And that's what we're seeing. And, you know, 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are stopping the entire not only defense budget, but the federal government from it being able to do what it needs to do.
I want to go back to the question that I asked you earlier, which is this split screen moment that we just saw, right? I'm speaking to you about a potential government shutdown, funding our government, making sure people that work for our government get their paychecks day in and day out. And then you have the president committing to giving continued aid to President Volodymyr Zelensky, and President Volodymyr Zelensky desperately asking for that aid, saying, if we do not get this aid, we will lose this war against Russia, and the ramifications of that and what it would mean for greater Europe.
Yeah, well, Jasmine, I mean, it's funny. I have low moments around here. I can't tell you how low the moment was 2 hours ago when I heard a rumor that Kevin McCarthy, in an attempt to move the defense bill, which failed 3 hours ago, was removing Ukraine aid. Now, that is a strategic catastrophe in and of itself. But to do that on the day that the president of Zelensky, who, by the way, will go back to Ukraine and console widows and orphans whose parents were lost in this war, would have been, I think, a low point in American history. You know, Jasmine, we can do a couple things at once in the greatest nation on earth. We can continue our economic recovery. We can continue our objectives to try to improve the economy here, even as we play a historic role in countering the kind of brutality, the totalitarian dictatorship that Putin represents, that our forefathers did, that our parents and our grandparents did. We can do two things at once. But in the building in which I work, in which I'm standing right now, Kevin McCarthy is controlled by 2 or 3 people who forget about this stuff about, oh, we don't know where the guns and the ammunition are going. That is a smokescreen. I know where the guns and the ammunition are going. I get to see it every single day. There is a core here who admire Vladimir Putin and who are following Donald Trump's lead in despising the Ukrainians. And in a healthy world, those people would be shunted aside. But in this world, they are controlling the agenda today.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a moment, Congressman, as I'm taking a look at this polling out of CNN, and I asked one of my colleagues a little bit earlier about this and how the messaging needs to be from the White House. But when you have a majority of Americans essentially saying no more aid to Ukraine, right, something is off, right? So does there need to be more transparency in where this aid is actually going and at what point you end it? Because you couple that with, for instance, right, an interest rate increase from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. You got folks worried about the future of the economy here in this country. So you understand why we're seeing numbers like this, right? So is there a conversation about more transparency?
Jasmine, there's a good argument about foreign aid, and we've had this argument forever, which is, you know, should we be spending money abroad when we have huge challenges here? I've got huge transportation infrastructure challenges in my district. But this country has never said either or. We've said, when we say we're the greatest country in the world, that has meaning. And one of the things it means is that we can do two things at once. And make no mistake, the transparency thing, transparency is essential in our foreign aid. It is a total smokescreen for a group of people around here who, for a variety variety of, I would say, dark and ugly reasons either don't like Ukraine or do like Russia. Again, I'm the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. I get to see where this stuff goes. And you know where it's going? The moment it arrives in Ukraine, it gets put into the breech of a gun and fired at the Russians. This is not a situation where there are warehouses full of U.S. aid that is not being used. It is a smokescreen. And, look, we've always had this argument in the United States. We have a real stake in a world where a powerful dictator doesn't get what he wants. And the people who are opposing aid to Ukraine are saying, let's let Vladimir Putin get what he wants.
And I just want to mention to folks, we just saw live pictures of the president and President Volodymyr Zelensky as well walking the colony. They're going to be making their way to the Oval Office for that bilateral meeting soon. We're hopefully going to be getting images from that. Last question to you, Congressman. Are we going to shut down?
Yeah, we are.